My name is Tom Vasel. Welcome to Best of Publishers, where I look at different board game publishers and tell you my favorite games. Today we're taking a look at GMT. Now I want to put a caveat here at the very beginning of this video. GMT could have many people make top 10 lists of them, and many of those people who would be making top 10 lists would be very different than mine. Realize that I am not someone who tends to like very heavy war games, and GMT is one of the kings in this area. So other people could make a list that's more focused on their heavier war game side. It'd be different than mine, and so if you're looking for that, probably not the best place to come, but they still make a pile of great games. GMT is a small company. They're, like I said, known for the war games, but they do make other things. They're also known for their P500 system. This is a publishing system in which they will put a game up. They'll say, this is a game we're making a game about terrorism or what have you. And then each person people can go in and pre-order it. And when they get to a certain number of pre-orders, which is somewhere between 500 and 1,000, they will say, okay, fine, we're now going to print the game. They print the game. Anyone who has pre-ordered it is charged right when they decide they're going to print it. Then they get the game when it's published, and then the GMT makes extra copies to sell to other people. This sounds a little like Kickstarter, but it actually predates Kickstarter. Well, what they would do is they put these different games up on their website, and you're like, ooh, that one sounds interesting, and you watch the different games as they inch closer to the coveted published status. They call it P500 because they needed at least 500 before they would consider a game for publication. So here are my 10 favorite games from GMT. Number 10, Winds of Plunder. Now this is a pirate game in which you actually control the winds, which makes a little bit sense, and you're moving pirate ships around, picking up goods and fighting a little bit. It's a little more, abstract's not the right word, stark might be a better word for it, that I would like from my other pirate games, but there's a lot of good ideas here. GMT also has the rights to Blackbeard, which is one of the most complex pirate games. This one is simpler, more of a Euro game than anything else, and so that's Winds of Plunder. Number 9 is Combat Commander Europe. Now I said I wasn't a heavy war gamer. This is probably the heaviest I dare go. Combat Commander from Chad Jensen is almost an answer to Squad Leader, where you have some units and they move around on the board and fight each other, but they do so with charts and cards. There's a card system in this game, and they made many versions: Combat Commander Europe, Combat Commander Pacific, lots of things. I have not played most of it. I've just played basically the base games. I think I played just Europe and Pacific, the base games. But it does bring a story home. There is a decent amount of rules, but they make sense, and they're not nearly as complex as other games. But it's on the heavier end for us normal folks scale, but it provides a really good look at tactical fighting between specific units. Yeah, it's chits and not miniatures and all, but to me it comes across as something that I'm really glad I played. May not ever play it again, but the games that I have played of it I found to be quite good. Number 8 is Formula Motor Racing. So now let's go to the other end of the spectrum and pick an extremely light game. This is a game about, well, Formula Motor Racing, and you have these little cars that are going to be going along, but there's no track. That just shows the position of these cars. And you're playing cards, manipulating the position of the different colored cars, trying to get your car to the front of the line. And so you'll pull other people behind if you can. When your car moves, the car behind you might move, and so you're moving different cars to try to get it. Just about switching position. A simple little but very fun racing game. Although again, it's more about positioning. Number 7 is Commands and Colors Napoleonics. Now Commands and Colors, there have been many games in this system. The first was Battle Cry, which came from Hasbro, and they are constantly making new ones. This one here is about the Napoleonic War, and this one focused, each one seems to have a specific focus. This one focused on having different types of units, having both the cannons and the cavalry and the infantry, and so having a cross-section of units so that you have a well-rounded battle. It's still used to play a card, move things, and do it. Blocks with stickers on, worked really well. A solid game, Commands and Colors Napoleonic. Number 6 is Dominant Species. Now, Dominant Species is a Euro game, but doesn't feel like one really. It's an incredibly well-designed, great worker placement game in which you are placing workers to build your species, whatever it is, whether humans or spiders or lizards, and then go out and take everybody else out. You're going to grow, you're going to expand, you're going to take controls of areas. Big nasty events are going to happen. There's randomness, but at the same time a lot of depth of strategy. It is not a game for the faint-hearted. It's deep. It can be long, especially if you play with 6 players. It doesn't look that amazing because it's cubes and cones on the board, but it is extremely well designed and one of the best of the fight for survival type games that I know of. Number 5 is Battle Line. Now, Battle Line was a reworking of Shot and Totten, and in recent years they've actually made Shot and Totten, which was kind of a small reworking of Battle Line. But Battle Line, even though the artwork is kind of mundane, you have these different troops that you're going to have at different spots, but that's just thematic dressing to it. The game is essentially placing numbers on your side of the grid. You're going to put 3 numbers at each spot, and you want to have better 3 numbers than your opponent. So 3 of a kind is better than straight, although 3 is straight of a color is better than 3 of a kind. And so it's kind of like playing poker, but you're putting out 1 card at a time, trying to outthink your opponent. Really solid game, Battle Line. Number 4 is Thunder Alley. There's also Grand Prix, which is the successor to Thunder Alley, but Thunder Alley I like a lot more. Thunder Alley is essentially NASCAR racing with a heavy emphasis on drafting. So you're moving around the board and trying to make sure that you're behind the right cars. In this game, if you move, you have a group of cars, which I like, because if one of them's not doing well, hopefully the other ones are. But there's a lot going on as you move around, trying to get behind other cars so that when they move, you move also. Pulling your own cars, getting them together, working as a team to win. One of the best racing games that there is. Number 3 is 1989 Dawn of Freedom. 1989 Dawn of Freedom is based very strongly on the Twilight Struggle system. This game, which takes place in 1989, is showing the fall of different communist countries in Eastern Europe, where they're leaving communism and going to democracy. So one player is trying to stop that as long as they possibly can. The other player is trying to induce revolts, induce democracy coming to these nations. And you're doing so by playing cards that have to deal with actual events that happened and a back and forth tug of war, area control. It is an incredibly solid, wonderful game. Number 2 for me from GMT is Command & Colors Ancients. This is still one of the best in this entire series, where it takes ancient battles, and when I say ancient battles, we're talking about, there's just tons of them. You know, anywhere from the Greeks versus the Romans, to the Greeks versus the Greeks, to the Romans versus the Carthaginians. There's a ton. Richard Borg has put lots of battles in here, and this series of the Command & Colors has an emphasis on hand-to-hand close combat, and don't let that line break. When I first heard of this, I was like, I don't know, blocks with stickers on, but the blocks with stickers on work really well. This is one of the most in-depth games in the series, and I think offers a lot of great strategic choices because of that. And my favorite game from GMT Games is a pretty easy call. I've already mentioned it, and that is Twilight Struggle. Twilight Struggle, which takes the entire Cold War, brings it into this game. One person is playing the USSR, the other person the USA, and you are fighting anywhere from the space race to trying to control different hot spots in Africa, to Cuba, to the Koreas. You are going back and forth. The threat of nuclear war is always there, and you don't want that to happen because you could make yourself lose when that occurs. The very clever card system where you play a card and it might do something good for you, but also very likely will help your opponent out, and trying to figure out when to play cards and watching real life historical things happen. But a game that offers so much depth and is so intriguing and continually gets reprinted because it is one of the best games ever designed. So those are my favorite games from GMT. I'm sure you have many other ones that you also enjoy. Let us know in the comments. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching Best of Publishers, GMT.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.